been done on a mind-body approach to mental health. This is connected to and run through Nithyananda Hindu University, and I think it's really groundbreaking, and I'm super excited to talk about it. Then Muktananda is going to give an unclutching meditation, which is, this presentation is going to be part lecture and part experiential as well. So you should come out of here both informed and very blissfully relaxed. That will be our goal. If we achieve that, we've met our goals. Then Dr. Aranke, who's a practicing neurologist, who's connected with Nichandeshwara Paramashiva Hindu Temple in Houston, and Dr. Sandeep Pandov, who's a hospitalist connected with Johns Hopkins, Howard County, and Dr. Nirmala Shivaji, who's a practicing artificial intelligence can support sustainable mental health systems. That'll be followed by Dr. Prema Kothandaraman, who's a urogynecologist at the Women's Health Excellence Center. She's going to talk about women's mental health issues. Then Dr. Patel, who's a psychiatrist who's representing Kailasa, Los Angeles, and also practicing in the community, who's going to talk about mental health and children's issues. And then finally, I'll give a conclusion and a call to action. And for everyone who is able to stay, we're going to have a kriya, which is a technique for stress reduction. That'll be really nice. So it should be a very enriching and enlightening experience for everyone. And we're very happy to have you here. Briefly, this Science Summit is geared at how we can bring new scientific innovations to help the UN achieve its sustainable development goals. We picked goal number 1, no poverty, number 3, good health and well-being, and number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. Really, if you look at the sustainable development goals, enhancing mental health will really help assist in achieving almost all of them. So we feel strongly that the work that we have and what we're bringing forth can help the UN achieve its goals and really bring a lot of positive mental health and well-being and really unquantifiable. So now we're going to move, Dr. Muktananda is going to give a brief intro to our concepts of mental health.
Thank you, Dr. Peter Bloomfield. Really appreciate it. And thank you for inviting us to participate in this session. We wanted to give a sense of what we mean by mental health. This definition of mental health is taken straight from the UN mental health webpage. Essentially, mental health is a state of well-being where we are able to cope with life's daily challenges, have great relationships on a daily, regular basis, learn to work well in 2019. WHO predicts that half of everyone in the world at some point before they reach the age of 75 will experience mental health issues. And that is a huge number, right? That goes into the billions. And those in poverty are 2.5 times more likely to be affected compared to others. And this really says that mental health needs to start from, needs to address everybody, and it affects the disadvantaged people the most. When we normally think of treating mental health, the traditional approach tends to be very much focused on treatment, which is after the fact and super expensive. And it tends to focus on the source of emotions, address the mind-body system as a whole. And Dr. Peter is going to talk about, have an entire session on how to address the mind-body system. Instead of just controlling thoughts, address beliefs. I think transforming our beliefs from life negative cognitions to life positive, where we do not have these incompletions. It gives us more freedom, more empowerment in the present moment so that we can reach our full potential in the future. A key part of this is having powerful cognitions, which are deep insights about yourself and the world that help you unlock your true potential by breaking free from limiting patterns. Let's look at this a little bit more in the next slide. So, as capable of, but we are capable of extraordinary things. So, a powerful cognition would be something that alters how you see yourself. Like the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism said, we are not human beings striving for a spiritual experience, we are spiritual beings enjoying a human experience. If you look at yourself that way, as a spiritual being, then you don't think of yourself as being limited by your humanness, but actually liberated by your humanness. So it's a different way of looking at yourself.
Through this university, this has been
reawakened through our chancellor, who I'm going to talk about in the next slide. And this offers thousands of free programs online to the global community. There's a large, diverse team of faculty, campuses all over the world, and many, many millions of people have benefited from the teachings of Nithyananda Hindu University for all the people that are living there. He's also revived many dimensions of Hinduism, the powers of Paramashiva, the scriptures, temple rituals, and lifestyles for enlightened living. Has revived the Sacred Arts University that has created 1 million deities for enlightenment ecosystems to use worldwide. And there's more than 16,000 Kailasa ecosystems functioning that provide many services to their members and the communities around them, including Andadan, giving food, growing agriculture, healing service. In that, it goes beyond the mind. So efforts to powerfully address mental health have started to look at a mind-body system. And we'll be talking about it a little bit later, about things like the biome and the physical structures of how the mind and body interact and the brain and body interact. And then we're positing that it also can extend the consciousness, and for individuals out there who may be watching, for the masses, that can move towards the space of enhanced mental health. So the first topic we're going to talk about is cellular effects of mind-body intervention. So this was a 3-week program called Inner Awakening, again organized by Swamiji and run directly by Swamiji. Involved activities like yoga, meditation, initiations, which we're going to talk about. It means like 2 to 7-fold in reduction of the proteins of the gene products. And then the anti-inflammatory pathways that reduce stress and reduce inflammation were upregulated, again, 2 to 7-fold. And then there were 2 specific pathways that they noted. One is an anti-aging pathway called GATA2 and BM1 that was upregulated, which shows up in a follow-up study. So basically, gene expression change means the DNA may be, or may or may not be, but even if it's the same, the way the genes are being expressed is changing remarkably to tamp down inflammation and to support anti-aging. So you should be less stressed and more young, right? That's what we'd expect at the level of the organism. So based on that research, and this one was studied, the first one was published in about a quarter of them, almost a third, were triple. So a huge increase in telomerase activity, which we would expect to keep them young at a cellular level, at the genetic level. And then their stem cells were increased in 90% of participants. Stem cells are used as the raw material for replacing damaged cells and structures in the body. So if an injury or just a natural aging, stem cells are used to replenish with fresh cells. And so an increase in that is going to mean more use at a cellular level. The last thing they did, this was not published in that article, but it was around that time, online. But again, it's completely organized and run and attended by our Swamiji, and done through teleconferencing, just much like how this meeting is going right now. So we looked at 4 different scales associated with mental health. One is the DASS, which stands for Depression, Anxiety, Stress Scale. One is WHO5, which looks at overall sense of well-being. One is SF36, which looks at overall physical health and some aspects of mental health as well. And the last is MAAS, which looks at mindfulness, which is your ability to be present, right? Everyone is talking about mindfulness and being in the present moment. So we wanted to measure all these things in people before and after. For the depression score, anything above 10 means depression. 5.7 is the average. For this, the post scores were 2.7, so much, much lower than average and very far from depression. So this is going to show up as a really great state of well-being. And then we looked at anxiety. Above 8 is considered as an anxious person. The average in the US is around 6, so almost anxious. And for example, one population we looked at in research was women in infertility. The score is about 53. In many, it'll vary around the world, but many populations will be around 50 or so. In our participants, they started around 60, and then went up to around 80 afterwards. Started off at 4.29 or 4.25, so almost at the level of a Zen meditator at the beginning. And again, this may reflect some people were already involved with this lifestyle, which supports a sense of mindfulness. But at the end, it went all the way up to 4.8, 4.65. So a huge jump. The paired frontal lobes meet right at the area where the the chakra of the third eye, as per Hindu structure, Hindu spiritual anatomy, right where that is, that area, wet area would light up in the brain when you would activate, light up in the brain when you would activate his third eye, which I think is really fascinating. And then on EEG, which measures brain activity, samadhi, which is like a superconscious state, connected with the yogic tradition, and healing conditions. It said he is always in a permanent state of meditation. Then this is the one that I think is most fascinating. There's a Dr. William Collins. This was done in 2005 in St. Louis. He's a neurofeedback researcher who was looking at EEG. And he noticed when he got a baseline reading, he kept changing the probes and changing the settings, and I'll explain why. But then the person he was healing, when he was doing direct one-on-one healing, they went into the same increased extreme gamma activity in the whole brain. Also, when he did just a general healing that wasn't specific to the person in the room, again, their whole brain of that person would go into a high gamma activity. So we're positing that this is how Angie and the person he healed were completely refreshed and energetic afterwards. And the doctor said, if I had done this, I'd be fatigued and sleeping by the time it's over. So for some reason, this intense metabolic activity of the brain did not cause fatigue. It caused rejuvenation. If you're like taking a quiz, doing a task, if you're at work doing a task that requires your mental activity, it's 13 to 25 hertz. So you'll notice this illustration doesn't have gamma waves. Part of that is because gamma waves, people didn't even know about them until relatively recently, because you normally cannot see them on a normal EEG. They were normally detected with something called a QEEG, where you take a computer and look at the raw data and see tiny little, very, very low amplitude up and down high frequency waves that you can't really see with your naked eye, but the computer can also be created through spiritual activities and mind-body interventions. The last group I'll talk about is long-term meditators. These were Tibetan Buddhists that have been meditating for 10 to 20 years, like their whole lifestyle was meditation. Like monks that would meditate for 6 hours a day, or a huge amount of meditation. This came out in 2004 by Dr. Davidson in Wisconsin, a really breakthrough publication. When they would go into a oneness and compassion meditation, they could go into sustained gamma. That's the only other time that I'm familiar outside of Swamiji and what I'm going to talk about that we've seen sustained gamma. But it was in long-term meditators while they were deep in meditation. You can just do it at will. They describe intense bliss associated with that, intense oneness. I've also seen another disciple who can do slightly lesser at will, and I've seen a few others that go into a very high beta, almost on the cusp of this, that's extremely atypical for normal beta activity. So I see this as progression in their capacity to reflect this state of consciousness in their spiritual growth. And so they would do this by connecting with Swamiji, connecting to a state of oneness, doing things like blindfold reading and materializing these some lifestyle things. I'm not going to go in detail because I'm over time already. But mind-body consciousness approaches can create this possibility of really powerfully enhanced mental health, an intense, extremely low rates of depression, divorce, and really high income, high productivity. And we think it relates to this lifestyle and the residue of this lifestyle in their system. So thank you so much for your listening. I complete for going a little over time. But now we're going to have a beautiful unclutching meditation with Sri Mukta.
Thank you, Dr. Peter. What I wanted to say here is that Dr. Bloomfield talked so much about the state of space where you have fewer and fewer thoughts. That's the fewer thoughts per second. And he showed quite a few brains. Let's watch this video briefly. Go ahead, please play. Audio is not audible, Peter.
Maintain, fight with, try to destroy, anyway engage, do not do anything with your internal thought process. Just unclutch. And I tell you, it will develop. In few seconds, you will see you are not thinking process. you are beyond your thinking process. You will sit with yourself in a very matured way, highly matured way. Sit with yourself with highest maturity. Fighting, engaging, all thought process. Unclutch from all thought process. Just sit, be unclutched.
Yeah. One thing I want to say, we're going to give you a few minutes here, then you don't associate them, and then they just become random series of thoughts which don't affect you. That's the whole idea. So initially you can use the word unclutch, and but after a little while you can just unclutch without using that word. So are you sharing the audio from your output from your computer?
Yeah.
While sharing video? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Maybe I'll turn up the volume. Are you able to hear it now?
Close your eyes, unclutch from your thoughts. More visible to you. Sometimes the blood pumping through your heart becomes more audible to you. Unclutch from those also. So there is a series, as you hear things, those are also thoughts. They're triggering thoughts inside of you. So next time, just keep unclutching deeper and deeper, and you'll see this deep sense of silence coming in. So it's a great technique. You can try it anytime.
Plays a very important role in regulating mood and cognition. Not only through activity of certain brain structures, but also pathways or circuits of communication between different brain regions are important. Brain and the digestive system, which is two-way, which is really important in mental health. And it turns out lifestyle measure of diet is very crucial in mental health. So eating a Western diet has been associated with loss of brain cells in important areas of the brain, areas which regulate memory, learning, and emotion, like the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, which is really important for attention, planning, judgment, impulse control, the orbital frontal cortex, which is important in regulating our emotions, and it's not only about us, but it's how we bond with other people, how we interact with others, so social attachments. It turns out pain processing pathways are negatively impacting depression. And one way is maybe the cingulate cortex. And even our ability to empathize with others are affected due to loss of brain cells in the cingulate cortex. Also, depression negatively impacts the basal ganglia, which is a part of the brain gone. But it turns out certain practices, especially yoga and meditation, can actually lead to neurogenesis. We're actually generating new brain cells, and this can happen throughout the lifespan. So this in itself is like very groundbreaking information. And it turns out yoga and meditation, which costs nothing, can in fact regenerate areas of the brain. So they've looked at, for example, in yoga practitioners, certain regions of the brain have higher volume or more gray matter or neurons. For example, the medial and superior disorders. And in fact, this area, interestingly, it ends up being a little bit reduced in volume, telling us that maybe yoga practitioners have lower levels of fear or tendency for fear. And we can move on to the next slide. Now we can move on to what we found in practitioners of meditation. So they have been studies and may explain why many practitioners of meditation experience a sense of bliss during their meditation. Also, imaging studies have looked at the thickness of the cortex. This contains the brain cells or neurons. And it turns out these are thicker in various brain regions listed there. These are regions that are important for emotions, decision-making, learning, and memory, and also the ability to monitor ourselves, to know what's happening within us and our environment, and as well as having self-awareness about fear and anxiety. They tend to have a lower level of norepinephrine. This is a brain chemical associated with anxiety. And they've been shown to have increased amounts of dopamine as well. The dopamine is the brain chemical responsible for the feeling of pleasure or reward. Interestingly, studies in both yoga and meditation practitioners have shown that they have lower levels of a very important hormone called cortisol. This is a stress hormone after. And looked at a brain chemical called GABA, which is very important for regulating our mood and reducing anxiety. And they showed there was a significant improvement in the amount of anxiety and depression that they were experiencing before and after, to the point that many were no longer depressed.
Healthy gut microbiome. So before we talk about that, we should know what gut-brain axis is. So basically the brain is connected to the gut by a vagus nerve. So what it means is what happens in the gut affects what happens in the brain. So the next question comes is, how can we impact the gut in a best possible way? So, the whole food plant-based diet, which is called Sattvic diet, which basically comprises of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, beans, and least amount of unprocessed food and meat. So this is what whole food plant-based diet is. We also call it Sattvic diet. So what essentially this diet does is diseases and as well as the autoimmune diseases. So in a nutshell, basically the healthy microbiome is caused by whole food plant-based diet. Next slide.
And then a discussion, so you can go very quickly.
Oh. Are we waiting?
But with the animal, the muscles have a capacity to store muscle memory and biomemory. So when the animals are killed, they leave a tremendous pain, suffering. They are not going to say, let the whole world be blissful and die. No. They leave so much of suffering and die that gets recorded in that muscle memory and biomemory. When you eat that, you will fall into depression for a small reason. Your husband late from the office for 5 minutes is enough to make him as a late husband. Understand? No, for a very small reason.
Summary, we've seen that the brain physiology, through functioning, structure, chemistry, and gut health are crucial for mental health. And lifestyle changes are critical and sustainable. And objective scientific information now is available showing that yoga and meditation actually expands parts of the brain which are vital for mental health. And the plant-based diet also improves that brain-gut chemistry to improve mental health. So there's various lifestyle practices in Hinduism, which Swamiji is reviving and promoting. And he's unique in promoting some of these lifestyles, such as Nirahar Samyama. And we'd like to go ahead and start. Maybe Dr. Pandav can talk about what is Nirahar Samyama and how his experience that he's had with that.
Sure. I always practice whole food plant-based diet, but through Swamiji, I came to know about Nirahar Samyama, which is really a step above that. So essentially, I've gone through this, and you can add further.
Yes, yes, definitely. I have done the Nirahar Samyama a few times, and this was something that's completely new to me. I think only Swamiji talks about this. I had, been practicing different Hindu spiritual practices and lifestyle measures, but this was something completely different. So I definitely experienced very similar to
Shivaji had an experience that she maybe would like to share about Nirahara Samyama.
Mhm.
Dr. Shivaji, did you have an experience you wanted to share?
I think you're muted, Ma. Dr. Shivaji, you're muted.
Sorry. So sorry about it. So it's other than the other benefits of what you have said, mental clarity, and you're more happier and more lighter and all that. What happened was I used to get every summer
12 components, 12 aspects of yoga, which is very unique. And of course, other yogas are also part of this lifestyle. And so thank you so much, you guys, for this discussion. We could discuss so much longer. We've met some time constraints. So we're going to move on to the next session, which is a pranayama breathing exercise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Graham. So simple technique is called Shitali pranayama, and references are given here. These are all scriptural references. You can search for them online. You can actually find them. Shitali pranayama is a technique to really cool down and de-stress. So it's a very easy technique. Sit up straight and roll your tongue and just put it outside of your mouth just a little bit so that your tongue is sticking out like this. And then deeply inhale through your tongue, and you will actually feel it in your chest, in the middle of your chest. If you don't feel it, try breathing in a little bit more deeper. Continue doing this. And breathing out, that's one cycle. Do it 21 times. It's very powerful. The next pranayama I'm going to teach you is called Anapana. It's very simple. It's breathing in through one nostril and breathing out through the other nostril. So if breathing out makes you feel stressed because I'm asking you to breathe out twice as long, you don't have to do it. Just breathe out till the count of 6. Take a quick breath, let the natural breath happen, and then start the humming again. So for example, it sounds like this. Doing this for a more intense hum, you can actually close your ears also. Put your fingers on your earlobes and close them. And that will intensify the hum because the sound hums inside your head. And very soon your entire head, your chest, your body will start humming along with you like this. This humming is a very intense exercise. Great. So these are things you can practice pretty much anywhere. And these are all revived by Swamiji. Swamiji has taken all these ancient techniques and then put them in modern contexts. In fact, search for these techniques along with Swamiji's name. You will see a whole bunch of what are called kriya is useful in mental health. Next slide. And the key challenge here is scale. Like sustainable mental health requires scale, and millions need help with anxiety, loneliness, and depression. But the primary challenge is lack of access to resources. And it's like the people who are in poverty, the people who really who suffer more often from mental health issues that, like we shared before, are the ones who are unable to access such resources. At least one thing that everyone needs, like people need a spiritual solution for mental health. And if you think about it, probably can get access to these services. It can be as easy as accessing mail or WhatsApp, for example. And the beautiful thing is conversational AI can actually help address a wide variety of mental health needs. I want to say for sure here that AI cannot replace human beings. We still need people. And we need AI to address a few challenges, like address privacy, make trust and safety front and center. These are challenges that we are, or the science of happiness, as taught by Hinduism. So this Nithyananda.ai has the entire access to his teachings and the science of happiness and the science of enlightenment as taught by Hinduism. And it can answer questions from that perspective. So with that, let me show you a screenshot. I didn't have time to go through extensive demo because it can take time. But here I'm going to show you a demo. This is like a video that I captured on my real demo. I captured a video. For example, I'm asking the question, whenever I even stay at work a little bit late, I notice that I'm very anxious about that wholeness perspective. You can actually handle the situation in a much better way. So it's a very powerful message that it helps you understand that you are a whole and you can't divide yourself into different personalities. Can we press play again? The next question is about, I'm just highlighting the different areas. The next question about someone saying, my sister and I are grown up. Whenever I ask my sister to spend time with me, I feel disappointed. And she wants to do things that are different from me. What do I do? So this now addresses how to think about this. Yeah, this next section is about asking for yoga and meditation techniques for de-stressing. And it chooses techniques from scriptures and shares them with you. Anyway, that's the quick demo. Let's move on to the next section. Okay, now I hand it over to Dr.
The incidence of mental illness among women. 1 in 5 women experience a mental health issue every year. Women are diagnosed with anxiety and depression twice as men. 25.7 stress, anxiety, and depression. Gender-based violence, women are more likely to experience domestic violence, sexual assault, and emotional abuse. Social pressures and roles, women often face societal expectations like 55.8%. It's a pretty expensive program, spending about $104 billion US dollars a year and 217 million days of work lost. It's a big loss of work, and more women are seeking help but failed outcome. The treatment methods are making people dependent on medication, and more medication it behind Many patients either they use medications, cannot be compliant and quit, or they become more and more dependent on medication, but the end results are not permanent cure, and it doesn't address the mental disorders and usually causes at different levels. In many parts of the world, access to mental health are very limited because it's very expensive. And social stigma around mental illnesses also prevent people to seek the treatment. So by knowing the different reasons for women's mental illness and also the available treatments are not that effective, let's learn from Kailasa a holistic approach with very powerful words about women. Women, by their very DNA, have the capacity and groundedness to hold an ecosystem or family or a team or a community together. So women have their own intuitive intelligence in the field of keeping something very stable, keeping it together and making it functional. So Hinduism creates an ecosystem for every woman to manifest that possibility and that power. So this is the great way to start, where Manuvati Dharma Shastra and Swamiji making a foundation in Kailasa, bringing the ancient Hindu wisdom, reviving the ancient Hindu wisdom and creating a Kailasa with various projects empowering women using various approaches, allopathy, naturopathy, Ayurveda, Siddha. It's again, it's a free medical care is provided, and along with spiritual and psychological support and counseling to all women. So over $10 billion have been invested in women's health at Kailasa. This is very impressive. And again, a spiritual wellness order in Kailasa is established by Swamiji is unique in that the free ordains women and allows women to perform temple rituals. This is the real true reviving of the ancient Hindu tradition. So there are 108 free educational economic projects are functioning and powerful, and through this, there is a proven way to holistic approach and a proven way to for women to have a mental health. The next slide.
Unfortunately, see, if it was handed over, it would have been completely family-based civilization. So naturally, everybody would have had their basic needs. All the basic needs would have been supplied to the whole world.
Bringing the best within them, like leadership, stability, powerfulness, and divinity. And from my personal experience, I have like 14 years of medical education and practicing for 25 years of women care and being there in women during their most sensitive time, pregnancy, delivery, taking care of all age group women. I want to share only after being part of the Kailasa incident that Navaratri festival is coming. It's an annual Hindu festival. We celebrate Divine Mother Energy for 9 nights. And I do pray to Ma Parashakti and Divine Mother Energy to bless.
Listen to this sacred secret. Listen. Initially, when you put this idea into you, you will have too much of resistance, anger, guilt, fear, too many things coming out, and powerlessness. No, this is not for me. First of all, this may not be true. Second, no, this is even error and do completion. Understand? This is the initiation I am giving to all of you. Sit in front of mirror. Pen down all these patterns and fears and everything. intensely chant Mahavakya and see the mirror and start reliving appear in the mirror and make you complete and make you manifest powers. When I say, I mean. Just sit in front of the mirror and declare simple integrity to me. Start chanting Mahavakya and remember this powerful cognition, today's cognition. Pen down all the incompletions, fears, anger, guilt, impossibility, patterns which tells you no, you need to be dependent internally, externally other than Paramashiva. Pen down all of that. Whatever patterns tells you, you need
challenges for mental health. And we have the next slide. So I have here some of the fact sheets from World Health Organization. We'll quickly go over. 1 in 7, 10 to a 19-year-old experience mental disorders. And another alarming number is 13% of this is a global burden of disease in this age group. And suicide is the 4th leading cause of death number. We know that conventional approach have not been enough to address all these challenges. To address these challenges, it is crucial to address it at an early age. And prevention is one option and Sattvic diet. Swamiji had given details how this Hindu education system promotes freedom to explore and be creative and not force children into strict curriculum, nor evaluate them based on narrow rubrics. This mind-body consciousness-based education empowers children. And copy phase, students are first asked to copy 12 images of various complexity. This copy phase reflects the student's visual motor intelligence and maturity. In second phase, recall phase, which is recall phase, students need to remember all the images of previously drawn without seeing them. The recall phase reflects students' visual recall intelligence. And the tests were performed on 75 students, and the results showed an average percentile fell into category of genius and very high superior intelligence, IQ score of 120 and above. So it shows very impressive numbers. Next category, intellectual maturity compared to exact in intellectual and mental health and evidence of whole brain activation and high level of thinking. Policies need to change to integrate such education into conventional curriculum. And of course, as I said, more studies are needed for this evidence, but policies to change and integrate this education into conventional curriculum would be a...
We've been discussing, and this lifestyle model we've been discussing for mental health treatment would help the UN achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Really, many of their goals would be achieved by adopting this lifestyle. At NHU, the Nithyananda Hindu University, we aspire to be a world's leader in the study of mental health, of enlightenment, and of superconsciousness. And we very sincerely and formally and informally invite any Paramashivoham program is a program that I refer to that showed profound positive effects on mental health, reduction in depression, anxiety, and stress, extreme improvement in well-being, mindfulness, and overall health. That program is ongoing. You can find it at paramashivoham.org. So we invite policymakers, we invite academicians, and other politicians, anyone, to contact us to see how we can bring this to the world to attain and achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and bring...
Shared 108 kriyas for a variety of diseases and disorders to alleviate, use in conjunction with other approaches. And this video will introduce the kriyas and what do they mean and why they are so powerful. And after that, I'll walk you through a very simple kriya for stress relief. But let's start with this one. Please.
Nerve circuit, the nervous system. Prana circuit, the respiratory system. Digestive circuit, excretory circuit, reproductive circuit, and energy circuit. Of these circuits, the energy circuit is governed by the Kundalini energy. Though not spoken much by the medical science, but elaborate references have been given for Kundalini energy in the Vedic tradition. The Kundalini energy is the innate, immense potential energy for the flow to resume. Similarly, when there is a block in the energy circuit in the body, there is impedance to energy flow forward, and it results in disease in that particular organ. The Kundalini energy in our body is like the water in the water tank. Kriyas are powerful tools which help
into that circuit. See, putting your body in certain asana makes the circuit blockage free. The circuit becomes perfect. But only through the kumbhaka, the energy gets pumped into the circuit. This is exactly the principle. If you take, it may take 10 years for you to cure the disease. But mixed properly in certain combination, it removes the disease in 2 days, in one dosage.
The kriyas help to restore the energy imbalance, and which results in healing diseases. Kriyas help to heal
Karanas, the different Shivadandava Karanas. 7th, I am adding the recent discoveries of modern day gymming and weightlifting. So all these 7 put together, I work on your body and mind, creating yogic body and Vedic mind. Power, stamina, flexibility, physique, energy. All the 5 put together is yogic body. I am using all the 7 ingredients to create yogic body for you.
That's one thing we learned. We're going to do that first. Then the second step is you sit in a special posture. Do we have the picture of that posture? There is a posture. I shared a picture yesterday. Do we have that in the slide?
This is the last slide, Mukta.
Okay. I think we need to bring that picture. If somebody can add that picture to the slide, to the next slide, that'll be great. So you have to sit in a special posture. It is not very difficult. It is, you sit with your knees drawn to your chest. Peter, you can play the music. And let's start by doing Nadi Shodhana, which is close your right nostril, breathe in through your left nostril, and then close your left nostril, breathe out through your right nostril, and then breathe in again through your right and breathe out through the left. This is one cycle. Do this cycle for 21 times. Let's start with that. That's the step 1. Step 2 is this picture. Sit like this picture, holding your knees.
The intense, you will feel the intense humming, the coolness all over your body. Just lie down and unclutch from all thoughts. When you unclutch from your thoughts, surface level. I mean, there is a lot of depth to the meditation, mind, body, consciousness studies. But we just wanted to share some experiential, some experiences with you, so you can find out for yourself. So I hope you can practice this meditation before going to sleep every day.
United Nations going forward. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and have a beautiful rest of your evening.
Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.
Thank you.